Welcome to Sew Very Easy. My name is Laura, and when we think of the word bib, we think of a little piece of cloth around a child's neck to protect the clothing. Well, bibs are not just for children. Sometimes as an adult, we do need a bib. A juicy hamburger will definitely prove that to be true. Now, there are ways we can make bibs. We can just make them with a little piece of fabric, or we could turn a shirt into a bib. When we turn a shirt into a bib, it doesn't look so, well, let's call it bibbish. It sort of looks more like you're just wearing a tank top. So it has a little bit more, well, let's call it panache with it. So let's talk about some things that are good for choosing a shirt for a bib and things that maybe are not so good. The first thing we need to think about is the neckline. The neckline, we can't have it too low. We can't have a drop neck or a V-neck because that hamburger juice is going to start right here and fall down. And if it's too wide this way, it's going to slide. It's not staying on. So we need to have this bib start somewhere just below the neck. Fabric is another thing we need to think about when we are making these bibs from shirts. For example, we wouldn't want silk or satin because we do want to be able to throw these in the wash. Silk and satin also has a slippery surface. We want that bib to handle that drop of the hamburger juice instead of rolling down the shirt. Now the fabric can be a little bit thin. The reason is we're going to put a lining on these. That lining is going to give us one extra layer of protection. And we can also use different types of openings. We can use a shirt that has the buttons down the front, and we can use a shirt with the closure in the back. I wouldn't recommend a turtleneck. Reason is it's a lot of work that we need to do in the back, and we don't need it that high. So something that comes just below the neck is going to be a great choice. So what we're going to need is a shirt. Now I am going to use this shirt. It is nice and long, and I'm going to leave it long. Now you don't need to, but I don't think cutting it this short is a good idea either. When it's short like this, it's cutting you off, and well, it's just not covering as much, and it's going to look more, well, bibbish. So I don't mind keeping them long. So we're going to need a shirt and a piece of flannel or even an old towel. And if you have a closure on your shirt, such as the closure in the back or buttons, we don't need to add a closure. We're going to use the existing closure. Once you see how this is done, you're going to be able to transfer that information and make a bib out of almost any shirt. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up the sides and cut those sleeves off. From here we're going to take this and fold it in half and match up the neck. If it's a collared shirt with buttons, just do up all of those buttons. I do have that little closure on the back, and I happen to have a facing on this shirt. So I'm going to use both of those to my advantage. The bib front I want long, but the back I don't need it long. I just need a little piece so that it will sit on my back and stay together. And as long as you match up that neck, both sides are going to be the same. Now for the front, I'm just going to smooth out that front. So this is the shape. When I open it up, I have the back and the long bib front. So in the back, I'm going to be able to cut this out. If it's a shirt front, we're going to have that entire shirt front that can unbutton, so you won't need to do it to the back. In my case, I'm just going to continue that cut. So now it really does have that bib shape that we're used to seeing. The small back and a little bit of a larger front, but in this case, it's a nice large front. Now I need to put a lining on this. You're going to need a piece of flannel that's going to cover that entire shirt surface. So place that shirt onto your fabric and smooth out those layers. If you have a button-down shirt, you're going to undo those buttons because the back is going to be attached. So it's just going to smooth out, the back will be together, and your V will be here in the front. And now we're going to cut this fabric the same shape as this shirt front. For the shirt, you're going to cut down that center and then cut all the way around. And this is where I'm going to be able to trim it so it looks nice and neat. And both sides are going to be the same. So I have those right sides together. Now before we stitch this together, I do want to take a little bit of a seam allowance off of this top curve. When this is done, the fabric is going to go underneath. So I just need to trim that little piece off. Now we're going to stitch from this opening all the way around, stitch along the bottom, come all the way back up. Even if your shirt does have the button front, we are not stitching this area. So that lining and the top's all stitched except for that neckline, and if it's a shirt, and those two fronts. Now turn it right side out. When I turn that right side out, I'm going to have this facing, and that lining I'll be able to put underneath. And that's going to go all the way right up to this collar. On that raw edge, I'm just going to fold it in, and I'm going to match up those edges so it looks nice. I did press this so it all went together nice. This is the area that I turned it. I did do that little trim so it did fit underneath that facing. Now I'm going to do another row of stitching around that neckline. I did not remove that first stitching. I'm just going to do an additional one, and that's just going to hold that all together. And you will be done if you're using a shirt that has a collar like this. If you have the button-down shirt, this will be attached, and you're going to have that front opened. For that front, you're just going to fold in, and I'm going to stitch right along the side of the buttonhole and where the buttons are. This style with this facing along the back is an easy one to do because that lining did tuck up underneath, and that second row of top stitch just held it all together. So there was no hand sewing involved. If this collar is a shirt collar, we're just going to fold that fabric in and still top stitch right along that collar. This tunic style is definitely the easier style, but it can be done with a dress shirt. I did keep the original closure, but you could add a button and a buttonhole. So my adult bib is now done. I have a nice big front. The back closes nicely, and it really doesn't look bibbish. It does look like when we're sitting at the table that we just have a shirt on that has no sleeves. And in this case, this particular tunic is big enough I could almost use it as an apron. The best place to find these types of shirts are really at your secondhand store. I love to go and see what fun shirts that I can find to turn into these adult aprons or the bibs. And you do not need to buy the size that you wear. We are cutting off those sleeves and it's all open. So you can go small or large, whatever size you'd like. So my next hamburger, I have nothing to worry about. Thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and I do have a newsletter. It's all free under Sew Very Easy. And be sure to make every day a Sewtacular day. Bye for now.